think YouTube is perfect for us.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Last Mark Standing podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud.com with your hosts, Damian Salty G and the Marky Smart Trina.
Hi, guys.
Why is YouTube playing in the background?
Not my...
Gosh darn it. Fixed it. Yay.
Okay.
Anywho, guys, sorry about that. So, yeah, we're coming to you from a really remote showing of the show. Trina's in an airport right now.
Mm-hmm.
She's en route from Minneapolis to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a quick hit, and maybe we'll expound upon this later in the week.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, I am fully in Unabomber mode, according to Trina.
Yeah.
So this show's pretty much dedicated to just trying to get reactions from Raw and SmackDown this week because we have a lot to digest.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Raw. I mean...
Yeah. So the biggest...
Go ahead.
So let's tackle this quickly because you had a problem with the Dana Brooke Club segment.
I did.
Yeah.
And
I just thought it was awkward?
Yeah, no. It wasn't even awkward. It was just corny. It was so corny that I had to, and I don't make these kinds of commentaries.
Yeah.
I had to mention this looked like a Brazzers porn, and I'm glad, wrestling Twitter agreed with me. But the whole smashing of the glove and then the club kind of look, there's a still of Gallows kind of looking down her shirt like, how you doing? It's just, didn't work for me.
Yeah, well, I thought it was completely intentional, like intentionally bad porn. And I think it's because it did that to separate them from Bayley and the New Day, who are not supposed to be sexualized.
Right. And to be quite honest with you, that was the happiest I've been in a long time, just watching Bayley and the New Day together.
Right. So it's like you put Bayley and New Day together, and it's like the kids love it, and the adults immediately are going to want to take it to weird places, like 3 guys and a girl or whatever, like whatever with the unicorn horns and whatever. So it's like adults want to take it there, and so you have to balance it out with Gallows and Anderson and Dana Brooke with the like sort of fake porn deal, like the really corny fake porn thing to show you that New Day and Bayley are the innocent pure ones, and then these are like the gross ones who would be in like a really bad porn.
Is that what we're calling it, the gross ones?
I mean, it depends on what kind of porn you like. So, personally, I thought it was pretty funny. If that was the beginning to a porn, I probably would keep watching it.
Okay, folks, so you could tweet the show and let us know at Last Mark Podcast if that's the kind of porn you'd be interested in watching, because apparently this is Trina's kind of porn. So that opens up a whole different conversation. Let me just tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, because if you've ever seen like the really, really corny ones, it's like you can't get too corny. Like, like they really played it up. Like the fact that Dana Brooke, I think, takes it so seriously makes it even funnier. Because she's like really taking it seriously, and then with the ring post-itis of like the last 2 weeks where they're playing it up. I mean, to me, it's just the whole gimmick is like really, really corny porn.
Oh, and I love the fact that again, our favorite people, the IWC, are complaining that this is a misuse of Anderson and Gallows. But if you go back and watch their New Japan stuff, a lot of it would be cheesily over the top, aside from the hardcore Bullet Club angles they used to do. But no, they're supposed to be funny. And not for nothing, I find them more humorous now than if they're just the silent badasses. I like having personality with my ass kickers.
Right. And, I think they actually can pull it off. I understand that they're supposed to be the badasses and stuff, but I think they're capable of doing this kind of comedy effectively and organically. Oh, somebody. And yeah, if you watch their New Japan stuff, there was like a badass element to them, but then they also had this corny part because it was in Japan. Like, if you've ever watched Japanese stuff, like, they like corny, over-the-top stuff. Like, this is exactly like, so they do it well. So might as well let them do it. It's over with me because I get what they're trying to do. You can turn them like vicious heel very quickly anyway. So why not ride this out? Because they are capable of doing it. Not a lot of people on the roster are capable of doing comedy like this and having it feel organic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't think the New Day thing with Bailey was too cheesy or too kiddish?
I really wanted it to be, but it wasn't. Like, I was like, the second they came out, I was like, I was trying to come up with a tweet for it. It's like ice cream and candy and cookie, like everything sweet that you could possibly like put together. And I couldn't think of two things that matched up with Bailey and the New Day. And so I ended up not tweeting something. And as I was watching it, I loved it. I mean, I thought it was brilliant because I was worried about how Bailey was going to come over on the main roster. And I think this is the perfect way to do it. Because the pairing is brilliant. Somebody tweeted the second they came out, kids all over the arena and all over the country were asking for Bailey and Boudio's merch. It's the perfect marriage of two gimmicks that, it's just perfect.
That perfectly complement one another.
Exactly, because the kids who are into the Boudios are going to jump on the Bailey train and vice versa. And they worked really well together. I think that was also what helped. Like, I felt a lot of good chemistry with the four of them. Like, the hugging felt like it didn't feel awkward. Like, I am not a hugger, and so it's like just hugging all the time, like, in a 20-minute period is very strange to me. But, like, all four of them looked super happy to be there.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
You're not a hugger?
I'm not. I've talked about this with Mikey.
When you saw me.
Well, yeah, because I have to, because I feel like
you
people
have to hug me?
Yeah, because it's what's socially acceptable, right? Like, it's socially unacceptable to not be a hugger, especially with my personality, but generally I don't like to hug. But
so
it's
you
like,
just
if
really want to punch me in the throat is what you're telling me.
No, it's just not. It's just high five. Like, high five is like typically how, but if I'm in a situation where I feel like the person expects me to hug, then I'll hug because that's what's socially acceptable. And to the point where I've accidentally headbutted people because I've been so awkward about giving them hugs.
So do I.
Because I was like, it's like, are we hugging? Are we not? And then I like headbutted somebody in the face by accident. So I don't know. Like, I'm just not naturally a hugger, and so like to see their interactions was really nice, really cool. Like, they genuinely looked like all four of them were happy to be together. Like, they knew it was a gimmick that worked, and they went with it, and they were all selling it. It's fantastic. And I actually.
Go ahead.
I even like Dana Brooke with the club. I think her just like being silent is better. Like letting Gallows and Anderson sort of like be the badass, and she's like badass number 3. I think for her, because she needs room to grow, so this might be the way to do it.
For me, just watching her interact with Gallows and Anderson just wasn't natural. I mean, she threw up the too sweet sign, and you saw the reaction that the two of them gave her, like, should we do this?
Yeah.
Okay. And I tweeted this at Matman. I said, hey, I feel like I just got punched in the nuts, her doing the too sweet sign, especially coming off my Ring of Honor foray on Saturday.
She's ruining it.
She's ruining everything that she touches, man. Like, no, leave the too sweet sign. That's not for you. Go away. Don't mess that up. All right? She's not a Bullet Club babe. Let's put it like that.
Some people were digging it.
Who?
There were people on Twitter who were totally digging it. It was very divided. It was very polarizing. There were definitely people who were like, this doesn't work, and then the other half who were like, this is awesome. But in her defense, what I have to say again is that she is very green, and she is having trouble finding what her character is. And so I would put her with maybe the strongest established storyline, which is the Bullet Club, even though it's not a real storyline in WWE. I think generally to wrestling fans, it's the strongest storyline, to kind of push her along the way. I know it might look awkward. I mean, it's kind of like in the early days of NWO. Remember, they'd add like certain people, and you were like, that person doesn't fit NWO. And then like after a couple weeks, you were like, all right, whatever. Like, so because I don't feel like they've given Dana Brooke so many chances to find her way, and it hasn't worked. So it's like, why not use the strongest gimmick right now and see if it. I thought it worked a lot better than her and Charlotte. She looked
of course
a lot more natural with Gallows and Anderson than she did with Charlotte.
I just didn't like the way it was portrayed as like some Brazzers or Skinamax movie. I just didn't. It didn't sit well with me. I don't know.
Oh man, don't you remember the Attitude Era?
We're not in the Attitude Era anymore, Trina.
That's the thing. I think because it's funny because things happen now and people are like acting like it's shocking, but like we're all in our 30s. Like we saw this stuff when we were kids. like, why can't there be a commingling of eras? Or, like, something where it feels like a mix of, like, reality era / attitude era, you know? Like, is that not allowed?
Not with Dana Brooke, it isn't.
Yeah. So porn-like segments and, like, Brock Lesnar cutting Randy Orton open with a big gash. Like I feel like that's not, people are like not
different things.
No, I see them very similar. But go ahead.
How are they similar? Okay, if we see violence on television with a dude getting his elbows to the head and getting his stuff busted open, but you have a girl pretending to be a nurse while she does her little glove thing, like she's gonna give Bailey a, an examination. I'm sorry, that for me, it's like, come on, man, really? This is not. If we're trying to get away from bra and panties matches and Jello wrestling in the WWE, why throw Dana in that situation?
So you don't see like you don't see like explicit sexual content and like extreme violence as something that go hand in hand.
No. Two totally different sins.
Because I mean, I grew up Catholic with a very, very strict mom, so for my mom, both of them would be bad.
Oh,
I mean, that was the thing. Like, growing up watching wrestling, my mom would walk in the room, like, it didn't matter what was on, if it was extreme violence or if it was extreme sexuality, it was both bad to her.
Oh, well, that's like me and the Jehovah's Witness thing when I used to be Jehovah's Witness. So I understand that. But I guess for me, it's more of a differentiation of two things for me that I classify as separate. Which
I think there are probably a lot of people that classify it, obviously, because you can have a movie that's rated R and have, like, a ton of violence. But then, like, it has, like, one, like, sex scene, and then that's the reason it's R versus PG-13. Like, the MPAA views sex and violence very differently. And so how does the American public judge, like, sex and violence? I think if I was WWE and I had to make an argument for it, I'd be like, look, UFC can provide the violence. We can provide the violence and a little bit of sexuality. So why not?
It didn't do anything for me, so that's just me. I mean,
right. So for you, it wasn't even sex. It was just a bad joke.
It was just corny. It was just, come on, man, really? Like, I wasn't turned on by it. I wasn't like, oh yeah, let's see more of that. No, it was more just get this off my screen. This is stupid.
Yeah, you just don't like Dana Brooke.
Well, no. You could have put anybody else in that situation. I would have thought it was stupid. Like, if you would have substituted Dana Brooke for Summer Rae, I would have had the same reaction. Because for me, it's dumb. Like, no. So you don't like, it sounds like you don't like the nurse gimmick. That's not your thing. Not in porn and not in real life. No, it's not my thing.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Because honestly, I feel like if it had been Summer Rae or Alexa Bliss, oh my God, if it was Alexa Bliss, people would be losing their minds.
Yeah, the internet would have exploded. Let's be honest there. But
yeah. So I think you just don't like. I feel like you just don't like nurses in those situations.
I like when they're taking care of me when I'm sick. I don't know if I want them to make fun of my fantasies, but that's just neither here nor there.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so sex and violence.
The rest of Raw was interesting. I mean, but nothing really sprung to mind. I mean, let's just get to the fact of the Fatal 4 main event, because that was like the other best part of Raw.
Right.
All 4 men attributed themselves perfectly in the match. I'm going to say it. Roman really stepped up in terms of his selling. Maybe not his in-ring acumen, because I saw all the tweets about the Superman punch being overused, but the selling of Cass's big boot over the top rope.
Oh my gosh.
On, man. That was amazing. That was like
poetry. That was really awesome. Yeah, it was so awesome.
That was the perfect Royal Rumble double elimination had that been at the Royal Rumble. And that would have been the feud of all feuds because of it right then and there.
I mean, whatever people want to continue thinking about Roman, I have to say he's been trying really, really hard since he got back.
Agreed.
Like, whatever you thought about him before the suspension, it's like, just take a look at his body of work since he's come back and judge it that way.
I mean, I think what you and I covered that is in the fact that because he's not the guy anymore, he's now able to just grow and be Roman Reigns. I mean, no matter which way we slice the banana, somebody's going to complain. They're going to complain he's too brooding, or they're going to complain he's too forced. So now he's somewhere in the middle where he can cut a line that's raw, pardon the pun, but at the same token, he can literally walk into a room, scowl and just punch somebody in the face, and the crowd's gonna pop.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to see him working on these little intricacies, you know,
Right.
the selling, the psychology.
Right.
You know, I like the overabundance of the Superman punch. Hey, I'm gonna, like I said on Twitter, it's gonna go back to what you said earlier. Work with what you got, and that's
Yeah.
what they did. They worked with what he had.
Right.
No complaints. Big Cass, I like the way he was eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
It took all those finishers
Yep.
to eliminate the 7-foot tall Big Cass. So it worked.
Right. Exactly. He was booked like a big man.
Mm-hmm. What about the rest of it? What about the rest of it for you?
So Roman really is doing very well, and I agree with you. It's like this sort of second chance has given him room to grow and make mistakes and try new things, and so we are going to see different iterations of Roman Reigns every week. You know, like we are going to get one version of him where he's making fun of Rusev and Lana and like messing up their wedding. We're going to get one iteration of him like not saying anything and just kicking everybody's ass. It's, you know, because I think what we've seen is that, you know, same thing with Dana Brooke, like certain things haven't worked. So it's like, let's try everything and see what does stick. You know, he's free to just be whoever he wants to be, and every week he can change and do whatever. I thought the match itself was amazing. Felt like a huge pay-per-view main event.
Definitely.
Just like, because the thing is, when I saw how long that they were going to give it, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. You know, I think they gave it like a good 25, 30 minutes. And it was just really, really good. And it sucks because I saw it the first time on mute, so I knew Triple H was coming out, and so it wasn't a surprise when I watched it the second time, but I still had emotion when I watched it like the second time fully with sound and everything. Just like Kevin Owens' face and like, you know, it got to me, and I didn't expect that. Like, I didn't expect to get chills, because my initial reaction was he wins the belt, Triple H gives him the belt, he looks shocked, and I just had like waves and waves of chills like running over my body. I was like, this is insane. I don't know what I'm feeling. And then they keep the camera on him for a little bit more, and you see the look on his face, and that's when I started crying. So
I mean, I'm not surprised you cried. I mean,
it's a big deal.
That's a Tuesday.
Matt McCool was like, Trina, you better be crying. I know you're crying. And I'm like, yeah. So, you know, all our fans know that was definitely a Trina crying moment.
Yeah. But on the other hand, yours truly actually was kneeling by the television watching the match as if I was watching the Super Bowl. So I was going back and forth. I was cringing. I was moving in my seat. I was very uncomfortable but excited. And the minute Triple H came out, I'm thinking, oh, no.
No, yeah.
Like, I wasn't expecting the swerve. We all were expecting eventually he was going to swerve Rollins. I didn't think it was going to take place to benefit Owens. So Roman gets eliminated. Bang. Then Seth's all cocky, like, yeah, all right, I'm gonna get over. And then the pop that Triple H got when he was going to hit Rollins with the pedigree.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
The little nuance, too, is of Rollins struggling while in the pedigree. He didn't just go limp. He actually tried to wiggle out of it, and I love that part. I was like, okay, he's fighting it, and he still got dropped. Yeah. So that builds up more, and then you just see Owens' face in the corner as if he didn't know what the hell just happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what do I do here? It's very reminiscent of when Edge and Jeff Hardy went at it, and Matt turned on Jeff. And Edge has this face like, are you serious? And he's,
what's happening?
He's making the cover while watching Edge just to make sure this is really happening. Beautiful. See, when it's that, when wrestling is that elicits an emotion, a response, a genuine emotion and response, because that crowd was crazy for when Owens won the belt. We weren't screaming because Triple H helped Owens. We were screaming because a portly Canadian guy who's been toiling in the indies almost his whole career,
15 years,
finally got his time to shine. And take it from a former portly guy, that's awesome.
Yeah, so as a Kevin Owens fan, do you feel like it takes any of the shine off of it?
Zero.
Because I'm a little conflicted. Like, I'm a little conflicted because, like, at first, like, I was like, no, not this way. But then, like, you know, just having him have the belt and seeing him, I was like, I don't care anymore. You know, like if this is the world that we live in and this is how he's getting the belt, then like it's fine. You know, like I'm just happy it's happening. And it's just, I was totally like in tears. Like his face said it all to me. And then, you know, all the social media afterwards, like pictures of his son with the belt. And I mean, this is just like, it's storytelling done perfectly.
That's a great way to put it, storytelling.
Yeah, it's done perfectly. And I feel like we've missed Triple H, you know, like he's one of the greatest for a reason. And he is a big part of why all of that played out so well. Because he sold everything from, I mean, you didn't know, nobody knew what was going to go on. I think going into that match, I think Owens was probably the like underdog. Like if you had to list like all the people who were more likely to win the championship, I don't think Owens was at the top of anyone's list. I think most people thought it was either Seth or Roman, with Cass as like the dark horse. Like Owens wasn't even in the conversation. And so the way that it played out, I mean, Triple H just sold everything he did. Especially from, because what I looked at closely was when he turns to Kevin Owens and it looks like he's like maybe going to give him a pedigree or help him up. You don't know.
Right.
He did it so perfectly that like there was no like doubt that he had intended to pedigree Seth the whole time.
Right. And I think that sealed it. Yeah, no, it sealed it right then and there, because the confusion and the chaos and the legitimate surprise to everyone, even Owens, like you said, everyone acted their part and sold it so well that you have. I don't understand how you could complain about how good that was. But alas, we are the IWC. And there were people complaining about how that happened.
Yeah. Oh, come on, guys. I mean, the thing, I think what's different with us is we've been watching wrestling for 20, 25 years.
Yes.
And it's like, there are only a few moments like this in all of wrestling history. Like that feel really true, that feel very organic, and that like capture you as instantly as Kevin Owens winning did. So that's sort of the way that I look at it. It's like I have a long memory, and in this long memory of wrestling fandom, that is one of the few times where it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's why I'm talking about chills, like chills and chills and chills all over my body.
Exactly. No, and I'll end it at this point. I'll say Kevin Owens is supposed to be a heel. That's his thing. So for him to win by assistance, again, very Ric Flair-esque, very old school heel-esque. Edge made a career out of doing things like that. So you know what? For us to lambaste Owens, or the way Owens is portrayed, that he's supposed to be this prize fighter. Look, man, he's got the belt now. Let's see what happens. Let's enjoy the ride, because you know what? A guy who's not supposed to, on paper, be a champion in the WWE has the belt. And not for nothing, like I brought up to you before, we have two of the top champions in all of professional wrestling who are dudes who aren't supposed to be champions. And Dean Ambrose and Kevin Owens. So I'm happy with that.
And if you look at them side by side, I would argue, I mean, obviously, Kevin Owens earned that belt. We know he has from like 15 years of indie wrestling and now. But in the storyline, he was given to him. Whereas I think in the storyline and in real life, Dean has also worked for it.
Right.
So I think you can put them side by side and be like, we have two deserving champions here. And because of kayfabe, you know, you can justify both of them.
Exactly. And you mentioned justifiable champions or something of that nature. Just I'm thinking now about The Miz. And do you feel the carryover from the Talking Smack promo to last night's SmackDown did him justice, or do you feel like it did him an injustice?
I think everything that went down since Talking Smack from last week, from them replaying it to Daniel Bryan and Shane in the back, and then Ziggler coming out. I tweeted this whole episode is like a giant pissing contest. Like this is all like men challenging each other's manlyhood, and somebody being like a strong style worker versus like a soft style worker. I think it works. You know, because some people were like, why would you put Ziggler out there? Because to me, he's the person on the roster whose manhood has been challenged the most. And so if we're going to make this like a pissing contest about like who doesn't like getting hit in the face and who does, you know, like these two are perfect. You know, like I think it fits the storyline perfectly. You know, because look, Dean Ambrose is not anybody's picture of the perfect man, and he beat Dolph Ziggler. So we have Dolph Ziggler right now who has been established as not manly enough, I guess, to win the championship. So let's put him up against The Miz and see if he's manly enough to take down The Miz, who apparently is a soft style worker.
Okay. Whereas I see it as this is a step down for Miz.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as believable for me because I know they're best friends in real life.
Oh.
So, you know, and people can counter with the Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens thing, but they made that believable. I don't believe when Miz and Ziggler argue, like you said, it's like two people who are having a dick measuring contest, more so than a natural hate. I feel like that's who they both are. You know, they're both douchey, frat boy types who just want to like put their dicks out and wave them around like they're gigolos. You know, and it's not believable. And I feel as if coming off that fiery promo that The Miz had cutting on Daniel Bryan, WWE took the easy way out by going the whole, well, we've agreed to have the GM separated from the talent, and that's the end of it. It left a bad taste in my mouth, and it's a step down because if we want to elevate the Intercontinental title, if we want to elevate Miz, and as you all well know, the IC belt's my favorite belt. If we want to put it in an upper stratosphere, give him someone else to feud with other than an also-ran, who we know, as you have said in the past, is the new in WWE.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I listen to you talking about this, I'm almost wondering if like knowing too much has ruined it for you, because I actually didn't know that they were friends in real life.
Yeah.
So all I saw were two guys who have felt emasculated, trying to prove their worth. You know, coming from last week's Talking Smack, I think watching that promo again, I feel like what quote unquote set Miz off was being called a coward. I think that was like a challenge to his manhood, his masculinity, his manliness as a wrestler, and it carried over into this week's segment with The Miz, an also emasculated man. They're both just like angry dudes trying to prove like who's the bigger dude. You know, so I didn't know that they were friends in real life, so it worked for me. Okay. I get what you're saying with elevating the belt, but I felt like Ziggler worked so well, I don't see who else you could put in that place that would move the storyline. Because I kind of see Ziggler and The Miz as like, again, like Ambrose and Ziggler, people up with parallel paths. You know, like Ziggler probably feels like he hasn't gotten the respect that he should get. The Miz feels the same way. Like these are very adjacent guys, and so that's how that storyline is believable.
Okay, so
yeah.
let me say this: have you watched Ride Along?
No. See, that's the thing. There are certain things I don't watch, and Sean from Cage Side Seats knows this. I don't watch certain things so it doesn't ruin wrestling.
Okay, so there is an episode with him and The Miz on Ride Along. You know, they're both Cleveland, Ohio boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they if you had any worries as to whether or not they're friends or not, that solidified it.
Right. But you know, I'm probably not going to watch it because I enjoy the storyline right now.
Okay.
So I don't want to ruin it.
Okay, so anyone watching at home or anyone listening at home, tweet the show at Last Mark Podcast, at the Marquis Mark, at Dare to be Damian. Let us know who you think should have been going up against Miz as opposed to Dolph Ziggler, if you indeed have a problem with it. Or just let us know in general what's your thought on the whole Ziggler versus Miz segment, because I feel as if they're the mid-card version of Cena Orton. We've seen it a lot, and I'm just kind of tired of seeing it.
Well, it's tough because this is the English major in me, and we've talked about this before on other podcasts, but like once I see one underlying theme, I can't unsee it from the rest of the episode. And so once you start with questioning manhood and defining masculinity with Miz and Ziggler, then to me that bled into the Heath Slater segment with Rhino.
Exactly. I was just going to say about emasculation. Did you feel that Heath Slater got emasculated last night? Yeah,
I mean that's the thing. I felt like this whole episode of SmackDown was like almost like a South Park episode, like a satire, which I would love if that was the case, but I don't trust the WWE writers use satire correctly. So, you know, like it would be really easy to take the Heath Slater angle and parallel it to Kenny, or somebody said Cletus from The Simpsons, the way that they treat lower income families and what they're trying to say. But again, I don't give the WWE that much credit. You know, so I don't know. For me, as a fan who looks at things a little bit deeper, that's what I saw it as. I saw it satirically as here's society again making fun of lower income people and what they think about how their lives are.
Like, because our producer Michael LaPena, he was the one that brought it up to me at Freelance Mikey, that this put low income families in a. It was a little too over the top for him because it puts it in a negative light to the point where you're making a mockery potentially of that kind of family, and it was very stereotypical,
right?
With the
which is
the overweight wife
right.
and they're all over. It was very reminiscent. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. It was very reminiscent about Jamie Noble and Nydia, where they were just going at it constantly back in the day.
Right, yeah.
And then now Heath's got the 7 kids that live in the the ground pool, and it's just like, no.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's
portrayed him different.
Yes, they could have, but I think it has to be over the top so that they can argue that it is satire. Because it has to be over the top to be like, look, this is. We're saying something about society as a whole, because if it's too subtle, then that's where you hit the gray area of like, are you mocking this, or like how are you treating this in a positive or negative light? And so you have to make it over the top, and that's why in South Park, Kenny's family is so ridiculously stereotypical. His dad is abusive and alcoholic, and like. Kenny's house, if anybody's up to date with South Park, they end up gentrifying the area, but Kenny's parents won't allow their house to get torn down. So you have Soto Sopa, which is like the new gentrified area, and then Kenny's like shitty house like right in the middle. Cletus and his family on The Simpsons is the same way. It's so over the top because it's supposed to be satirical. But the danger here is that you have people not seeing it that way and just seeing it as pure mockery.
Right. And
and what do you do? What's the problem?
Yeah, I think you and I are mature enough to understand the nuance and the fine line between the two. It felt awkward. It wasn't bad. It just felt awkward to me while watching it. Almost cringeworthy.
Right.
It's like, ugh.
Right. And then what I brought up to you was, I'm fine that you don't remember this time in history because it was a very weird time in history. It reminded me of 2009 Britney Spears, when pretty much the world was documenting her breakdown and downfall. Like shaving her head, and which I did throwback picture of that last week. And like she did this interview with Matt Lauer where she looked like Heath Slater's wife pretty much. From that segment, and she's crying and she's just talking about like how her life sucks, and it's like all I saw in that Heath Slater segment was what we as a society and what the media did to Britney Spears in 2009. It's like, look at this hillbilly, look how sad her life is.
Yeah. Okay, I guess. I mean, I can go. I agree with you in that regard, where it's bringing light to a potentially more serious topic outside of pro wrestling, which we live for.
Yeah. But again, I don't trust the audience to fully get that.
But that's what they have us for. To be able to distinguish and differentiate and to discuss this kind of stuff.
Because South Park actually did an episode where society eventually kills Britney Spears.
Oh, well, I don't watch South Park anymore, so
so pretty much like the paparazzi covers her to death. Like literally to death. So, I mean, I don't know. There's too many parallels here, and I don't expect everyone in the audience to see it. But if you have trouble understanding how the Heath Slater segment could be viewed as satire, I would direct you to a South Park or a Simpsons, and that'll help shed a little bit more light on how it was covered.
How do you think Dean got booked last night? Are you okay with that? Did
Yeah,
you not like it?
again, the masculinity theme carried through on this one for me as well, and so I think having Dean go over Baron Corbin, who has been sold as this like ultra manly guy, is perfect. I mean, I think what we're going to see is Dean just continuing to go over, even though nobody wants him to. You know, like this is the champion that nobody wants, just overcoming odds, like again and again. You know, so the more that everybody hates him as champion, he's still going to be champion.
Well, that's the thing. All of, if not most, if not all, of the IWC is praying for an AJ Styles win at Backlash.
Right. I don't think we're going to get it.
Nope. I don't think they're going to get it at Backlash. I think it's going to be, if and when it happens, it's going to be at one of the big four, where AJ finally wins the title.
Yeah.
You know, at a decent pay-per-view, not the first SmackDown only pay-per-view. If anything, it's going to probably end in some chicaneristic thing. And I'm okay with that because it gives us more AJ chasing the title.
If you want to believe that Vince and WWE hates AJ Styles like they actually do, I could see it though going to him at Backlash. You know, because I feel like they're not going to give him like the championship he deserves. You know, like the WrestleMania moment. You know, like even Kevin Owens, as amazing as that was on Monday, he still won the belt on Raw. Right. You know, like he didn't get the Daniel Bryan treatment. He didn't get the Shawn Michaels boyhood dream treatment. You know, if it follows that WWE actually kind of holds a grudge with some of these guys who never signed with them, maybe they will lessen AJ's title reign somehow by giving it to him at a Backlash or a Monday Night Raw or something like that. You know, I don't know, because I'm nervous. Because, you know, I want to believe the people that think that he's going to win in the next pay-per-view, but I don't trust how they're even going to treat him as champion. It's how I didn't trust how they were going to treat Dean as champion.
How do you think they're going to treat Kevin Owens as champion?
I think Kevin Owens will be able to sell it on his own. So whatever booking it is, Kevin Owens is gonna take that and run with it. He's that good. So I don't worry about KO because he is always going to take advantage of the opportunity given to him.
I know we're running low on time, so I just wanted to go back. I want to tell the audience to go back to some of our archives and talk about how we thought KO should have won the Money in the Bank briefcase because of the types of promos he would have cut. So imagine now that he has the belt, the type of promos, the heelish, like, you know, I just love it. I love the thought of having a heel champion who is smarmy, but can get over on his wrestling ability.
So what do we think he's? It looks like he's not aligned with the Authority then.
No, I just think it's one of those things that he's in the crossfire of.
So I mean, where do you think this goes with Triple H? Some people were saying this is like NXT Invasion or something, and Triple H is like starting to
helping his guys.
Yeah, you know, like putting his guys over on all the big shows, and soon it's going to be a full-on NXT Invasion by like WrestleMania.
Like you, I don't think the writers are that nuanced to think they're far ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Are you excited to see Triple H back?
No, I don't really care. I don't really care. I mean, seeing him get involved in a match, again, made me like, eh. But if he's going to get a match with Rollins out of it, I'll watch that match. I'll look forward to it because...
Oh, I'm the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm like, I don't really care about seeing him wrestle anymore. I would rather see him, like, pull the strings, like, be the puppet master, like, screw things up and things like that. Like, I find the angle of him putting Kevin Owens over way more interesting than a possible feud with Rollins. Because, like Triple H is a mastermind. Like, obviously, we've seen this in the many, many years of him wrestling, and now it's NXT. Like, he is a genius mind. And so it's like, I would like to see more of that in play, as opposed to him wrestling for the millionth time. You know, like, I'd rather just have him be the Godfather. than like one of the henchmen.
The Godfather of NXT.
Yeah, the Godfather of WWE.
Mm.
You know.
Okay.
So
I can see that, but that's something you and I can get
we can
into.
ponder that on another episode.
Yeah, I mean, we might do a part 2 because there's so much we have to talk about, especially me with my ROH.
I totally want to hear about it.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was right up there with NXT. But again, tweet the show at the Last Mark Podcast, at the Marky Smark, at Dare to Be Damian. If any of these topics resonated with you, let us know on Twitter. Again, we have a Patreon page, patreon.com/lastmarkstanding. Rate us on iTunes. You can rate us 5 stars, rate us 1 star. I don't care as long as you rate us and subscribe. We're also on SoundCloud.com. And just let us know what you think. And again, we're on this expedited version because we both have places we have to be on Wednesday. And safe travels, Trina.
Oh, thank you. So hopefully we'll be able to expand and do another episode this week if we have time. Because, there are a lot of things going on, and hopefully we can find the time in our busy schedules to fit in another episode.
Because God forbid, we have like other lives outside of wrestling.
Oh, I don't.
Oh, well.
Look at it.
You do,
Eat,
but you
sleep,
don't.
Podcast, repeat. Exactly.
Is that a Matt Men shirt or a Guys from Queens shirt? Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
So shout out to Matt Men for the podcasting. Actually, I'm going to buy that shirt for myself also.
It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great shirt. So yeah, folks, tweet the show at Last Mark Podcast, at the Marky Smark, at Dare to Be Damian. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.